Okay, perfect. So welcome to your class on attracting your ideal client through Instagram. This is probably one of the most important pillars of your business. Obviously, everyone in the world essentially is on Instagram at this point. It's one of the top 5 platforms for social media and selling. And I don't need to sell you on why Instagram. I am going to be talking about how to use your Instagram strategically to attract your ideal clients, because I think a lot of people have the misperception that you need to have thousands of followers or you need to have incredible content with staged photos, and actually very much the opposite is true. The intention for Instagram really is to attract people who will actually buy from you, and use your time wisely while on Instagram, as opposed to just trying to attract a large following. Your intention for this class isn't to become an influencer, so I'm not going to teach you how to grow your following to like 10, 15, 20,000 people. Your intention is just to start making money in your business. So with that said, let's dive in. So I put this quote in here: whatever you are, be a good one, because we did this whole ideal client class last week, and I'm sure you guys are getting a little bit more clear on who it is you're going to work with. But transparently, I think this takes time. You need to do this in action. It's great to start with an idea of who you're going to work with, but as you grow and evolve as a business person, and as you add more content to your work, your ideal client may change over time. So the most important thing is just like, whatever it is you are putting out there, just be a good one. Make sure you believe in your work, that you do good work. Your intention is to really help people. We're actually, even though this is a sales class for Instagram, we're not using people as credit card machines. We want to actually be in service to them and solve their problem. So the 3 keys to client attraction on Instagram is to be super clear on who you are and how you help. So I'm going to be showing you how to do that, but you must know who you're selling to and what you're selling to them. And I think even though this sounds rote and obvious, I think it's not actually. For a lot of people on Instagram, they just think that they need to post every single day, or they need to make sure that their content looks good, or they need to make sure that they have quotes that really will attract people. But all of those things are super surface level. You want to, when someone comes to your page, they want to know exactly who you are, what you sell, and how you can help them specifically. And I'm going to show you techniques on how to actually do that for yourself and for them. The second point of ideal client attraction is to educate, inspire, and call to action. So your whole feed should be educating people on your work, giving them like a behind the scenes insight as to how it works, what it looks like, what the results will be that they'll get. And then lastly, you want to give them a way to work with you. So constantly telling them and directing traffic to your webpage or to your link tree, or to your offer, so that they're not just sitting there like consuming your content. You want to wake them up and tell them how they can actually buy from you. And this, I see, is probably the most common thing. You know, I have a lot of clients who have great content and they've been just pumping out content for months and months and months, but they never tell people how they can buy from them because they're afraid to share and sell. So they're not converting clients. So you don't just want to educate and inspire them. You know, that's like the foreplay. You want to like call them to action, tell them how they can come into your home and buy from you and engage. And then lastly, real engagement always wins. So this isn't just like for the platform algorithm, it actually is for your sales. So my least favorite thing is when an MLM marketer will jump into my DMs and we've never had a conversation. They just like found me through a hashtag and they're like, hey, how are you? I have this thing to sell, and like, do you want it? And I'm like, I don't know you. How do you know me? What is it that you're selling? It's just spam, essentially. So the way I'm going to teach you to use Instagram is to really engage with your clients, actually figure out who they are and what their problem is, and if you can solve it, and start to have that conversation with them so that they feel like they know you, and they feel like you guys have like had some rapport, and they don't feel pressured or intimidated by you to just buy the thing that you're selling, right? You know, in my form of sales online, I'm not trying to convince someone that they should buy from me. They should already know by the time they get on a sales call with me why they're on the sales call and why they want to potentially work with me. So then when we're on the sales call, all I'm doing is figuring out if she is a good fit for me in my work. And it doesn't feel like I'm, you know, basically running her down a list of key benefits to her. I want to show her the results she's going to get, but I don't really need to convince her at that point. So if you do Instagram well, that's how your sales calls will go. Okay. So diving right in, I want to start with your profile. And you probably already know this, but I'm going to say it again. People need to understand how you help them in less than 3 seconds. So a big mistake that I see a lot of people making on Instagram is that they have their profile up and it's hard to find their name. It's hard to find what they do. And there's no call to action. Also, I see people just posting a lot of good content, but it's not telling me what they do or how they help me, right? So like a lot of people will post like great education posts or great inspirational posts. And I'm like, cool, what's the theme here? And I shouldn't have to sit there and like guess what it is you're trying to sell to me or how it is you're going to add value to my life. I should know right off the bat, like, oh, this person, like, here's Megan Markey. She's an intuitive business coach. She's going to help me step into my purpose. Is that a problem I have? She's going to help me clear subconscious success blocks. And she's going to help me scale my biz to 5-figure months. And if I'm not like interested in intuitive and psychic stuff, I probably am on the wrong page, right? Because she clearly is going to be pumping out content that is relevant to psychic stuff. And you can tell that by my title. I call myself an intuitive business coach. I intentionally use sparkles because that resonates with magic. I tell you exactly in 3 easy steps, here's what I'm going to do for you. And then I'm going to give you a freebie, because the other great way to use your Instagram is actually to capture people into your email list. And that, you know, because on Instagram, obviously you don't own any of your followers. So, you know, if you check your insights every week on Instagram, you'll see how many people are coming through your page. And if you're actually giving them something that could capture those people, you're turning them into leads. So that's how to really maximize this real estate on your Instagram page. Because again, a lot of people will come to your page on the day that they find you and see you one time. But if they aren't given any reason to stay and engage with you, they will leave and you will never see them again. So it was like a total wasted effort. And I didn't learn this, or I learned this the hard way, because I would spend so much time getting people to come to my page. I would do all the engagement pieces. But if they had no reason to stay for my content, then they would disappear from my feed, right? So 3 key factors. I think your profile should be clear and bright. Imagine there are literally thousands of people with Instagram stories that show up, and people have a choice as to who they want to click on every day. My engagement doubled once I put this colored background behind my photo so that people could see, like, it stands out like a spotlight, right? If you don't want to put a colored background, I would highly recommend just having your face be very clear and bright so people know who you are and can see you clearly. Your body doesn't really matter. This should be like your headshot. And then I would say make it joyful and bright, because again, people click through based on their mood, and generally people come to Instagram because they're bored and agitated and they want to be inspired, uplifted, or taught something new. So maximize that photo real estate, I would say. And then for me, what I do is I change, this is the place where you would typically put your name. I put my title there because you can tell in my handle clearly that my name is Meg Markey. I see people do this wrong where they have their handle that is their business name, and then they also put their title here, and then I'll DM them and be like, hey, I have no idea what your name is, but your business seems cool. And then, you know, if people don't know how to address you, then you're, you know, that's already an extra step that people probably aren't going to try to figure out. So your tagline. Your tagline is here. I have mine in bullet points. Other people do it where they have a sentence about who they are and how they help you. Either works, but it should leave no question in the customer's mind as to what you do for them. So again, like, people are inherently selfish. They also don't have a lot of time. They really want to know how you help them. I always say probably the most important part of this part of your real estate is to have the CTA in the bottom. So like, you're here at my page. Thank you for coming. Here's what I'm going to give you, or here's how you can learn more about me. Learn more would be a great call to action. Or here's how you can buy from me or book a session. Here's the link. For your CTA, I would download Linktree or Latergram and start adding your links in there, because it allows you to sort of direct traffic. And your website, your calendar, your scheduler, your lead magnet, those should all go in your Linktree. I don't think I captured a photo of my Linktree, but I can pull it up for you at the end. So I want to just give you examples of Instagram profiles that perform really well. So Kelsey Kerslake, she's doing it in sentence form. She's a personal branding agency and business coach for service providers, coaches, and educators. So she's telling you exactly what she does. She's telling you who she helps, and she's also telling you what the next steps are. What she wants you to do is apply for her program, scale to 6 figures your way. That's very clear to me. I understand what she wants me to do. I'm not ready to do that right now, but I will follow her because I like her aesthetic, right? And I'm someone who might need personal branding someday, so it could be good to follow this person. Laura Lee, she's a friend from college. She used her title effectively, Chef Laura Lee. She's a chef and author. She lives in Nashville. She has a cookbook. Here's her meal plans. That's something that I can get for myself for free. And here's her Linktree so I can learn more about her. And these people have their place, where they live. That's great because posts tend to perform much better when you put your location there. But also, if your profile is located, then people in Nashville will more easily find you. For Natalia Benson, she tells you she's a motivational speaker. These are things you can select in your business profile, right? Like, she calls herself an entrepreneur. If it were me, I would call myself a personal coach because people searching for personal coaches would more easily find her. But Laura Lee says she works in the health and beauty industry. And then Natalia, she's a coach, but right now what she's driving for is speaking engagement. So she calls herself a motivational speaker. And you can tell that she's a women's empowerment coach. She's also a mystic, an astrologer, and a CEO. She clearly loves astrology, right? And this is how you can find more information about her. I also want to point out that, like, when you land on someone's page, all of their photos are clear, bright, personal headshots, right? Laura Lee shows more of her body. That's intentional because if I'm going to learn from someone in health and beauty, I want to see that she looks healthy and beautiful, right? So with the colors they use and the content they use, you can tell right away. Her first 6 posts are what anyone's going to see. Clearly, she's using videos. She's using herself. She's obviously showing me photos of food. There's probably recipes underneath these food photos that I can utilize right away. This adds a lot of value to my life, right? This is inspiration, this is education, this is video, great. For Natalia, you can tell right away from the colors that she's using, and I'll go a little bit into the psychology of colors. She's using a lot of pink, she's using a lot of like fun graphic colors. I can tell that this person's very psychic and she wants to help me with places where I feel like out of alignment or low self-esteem, and this person could really help inspire me to be like the more powerful person or version of myself that I want to be, right? I can tell that she's doing inspirational posts, she's doing some lifestyle posts, and probably some education. For Kelsey, I can tell right away that she's going to offer value for me by giving me educational posts, right? Like I can save this and like remind myself if I need to get support, this is how I'll do it. She's obviously quite quirky and silly. I like that about her. And then this is a lifestyle shot. So she's not just one of those people who's out there like putting out surface photos. I don't want to work with someone who just has stage photos. I want to know who you really are as a person. So this would be like a get to know me post, right? That's all good because I'm a person. I want to connect with a real person when I get to someone's feed. And for someone like Natalia, I'm going to follow her because she clearly is ahead of me and she does something that I'm interested in doing. But if she's like got 100,000 followers and I can't relate to her at all, I might question whether or not I'm going to add her to my feed, right? So people want to know that they can relate to you. So I also want to point out the highlight reel. I personally teach that your highlight reel should tell people exactly, it should be sort of like a mini website. It should tell people exactly how they can work with you and give you behind the scenes insights into what it's like to work with you. So for Natalia, for example, she's got highlight reels to talk about magic. That's obvious that that's what she wants to teach you about. This is her 21-day challenge. This is her teachings on the goddess Lakshmi. This is her teachings on astrology. This is a day in the life, so it's probably giving you insight into what her lifestyle is like, so it's a get to know me highlight reel. For me, here's the Lightworkers Leadership Program. If you want to learn about that, you can go here. Testimonials, because that's the most powerful way I'm going to be able to sell to someone, is to show the results I offer. Channeling, so this is like a novelty piece. Like if you are interested in psychic stuff, here's like some messages that I've channeled for the collective. Here's what happens in my one-on-one coaching package, and here's what happens in a psychic reading. And I essentially formulated this based on my most common questions. So people would DM me and be like, hey, like what's a psychic reading? Or like what happens in your one-on-one coaching? So I take whatever I've put in my Instagram stories and I add them to my highlight reel 24 hours later, but the content should be really, really specific. To me, I think it's kind of a waste to put like, here's what I ate for dinner. Like, here's what I did in Santa Monica last year in 2019. Like, here's my niece who's really cute. Like, all of that stuff is a distraction from people actually figuring out how they can buy from you. And that's like, at least at the beginning, until you have like 45,000 followers, it should be like very narrowed down, because people don't spend that much time on your profile. They just want to be like, okay, who is this person? And I have one more part that's like a get to know me better highlight reel. By the way, all of these images I pulled right off of Pinterest. Pinterest has tons of free ones that you can download for yourself, and I think it just makes the whole look so much more cohesive, and it gives people a sense of like, all right, does this person have her shit together or not, sort of thing, I think. And again, like, you're stimulating people once they land on your page and they're making this quick decision. So, you know, Natalia, her green shirt really plays well off of this pink color. You know, Laura Lee, she didn't do highlight reels, but I can tell that she's just like adding so much value with her content, and the color story kind of works together. And Kelsey, she's like, I'm selling you one thing. Here's how you get it. You can find it on Pinterest, examples of it. You can find the program description here. and you can find my other program description here. So your feed. Your feed, again, is meant to educate, inspire, and motivate people to buy. I use these two people because I love their content, but you can see that they use the principles that I mentioned. You can see his face clearly, and there's a color in the background. So I'm like very intrigued by that. Orange, I'm going to send you a link about color psychology. Pink that I use, it resonates with psychic energy. It resonates with intuition. So you could see that Natalia Benson used pink. I use pink. Sa right now is really like a coming out of the closet type of spiritual teacher. So he wants you to embody your authentic energy. And so spiritually sassy, I think orange goes really well with that color because it is sort of like an unusual color to use. It represents abundance. It represents, being unique, original. So I think that works very well for him. Shaman Durek is all about like women's empowerment and reclaiming your power as a human being on earth. So it doesn't surprise me that he uses the color red. It plays well off of the other blue colors he uses for his brand. But you can also see here that he uses his feed to tell you how you can work with him. And events is his primary way of engaging with people. So that's his first highlight reel. And then everything else, testimonials, he's a really well-known figure. So he needs to do less of like telling you what his business is about and more about like how you can see him next, etc. But in his feed, he's clearly showing me, he does a lot of educational posts and a lot of engagement posts. So like, and then he announces his events primarily in his feed. So I want to come back here because I want to know like how I can learn more from this person, what he's going to add to my life. And what he does every Tuesday is an engagement piece that allows him to, can someone text me if like Rhiannon has texted and says she wants to get in? So he does a content piece every Tuesday where he gets you to sort of decide on what your, like he'll say, pick a stone and pick a card, and then you'll swipe through and see what your message is for the week. That's how he delivers a psychic message specifically to you every week. I think it's brilliant. So I always check on Tuesdays when he does that content piece to see what my message is for the week. He does tons of video, and he educates through his videos. What he does is get on TikTok and record the video, and then he reposts it into Instagram. Super smart way of using the platforms. People are less and less scrolling through the feed on Instagram, and TikTok right now, the algorithm is wide open. So his TikTok following has like exploded. And that's one great way to save time by repurposing content, right? But his content really focuses on education and spreading joy. So when you come to his feed, you can reliably count on the fact that he will uplift you and give you some sort of message for the day that's going to inspire you on your spiritual path. So in your feed, I personally do not think it matters how often you post when it comes to selling. I much more care that your information and content is quality. I find it honestly annoying when people post 7 days a week and they're just like dropping filler content that is clearly filler content, right? And I did this at the beginning just because I thought this was what you were supposed to do, is just post every single day. But if your goal is sales, and you're only one person, I think it's way more important that you post quality content that's actually going to drive action. If your goal is to increase your following and your engagement, then yes, posting every day is necessary for the algorithm. They will bump you up higher in the ranking if you do post every day. But people I follow, like Sunny Lenarduzzi, who's like a master at social media, She does not post every day. She posts like 3 times a week, which I think is like the standard. I'm not saying post once a month. That would not help your business at all. I think 3 to 4 times a week is totally fine if you have content that is actually going to do something for your audience. So the most important thing for sales is engagement on your posts. So you're looking for people to save your content, reshare your content, as well as have a powerful call to action so that they like actually go to your link in bio and check it out, right? And when I talk about engagement, I'm talking about people staying on your post for a long time, reading through whatever you wrote in your feed, or swiping through the carousel so that they can, that just shows the algorithm that this person stayed on your post, their attention was caught, now they're paused on your post and they're swiping through your feed. So if you've noticed on mine, I've now started doing carousels almost exclusively, because it really, instead of writing like a super long post, because the words are tiny, people can barely see them, you might as well just write it out in text in this carousel, and then people will swipe through the carousel. You want your content to be thoughtful and offer value. And I'm going to show you how to write a post in this class as well. So your photos, if you are taking photos, I highly recommend taking your own photos and learning how to do that using a filter. And then I would say demonstrating joy and positivity performs much better on Instagram. Like a sullen post where it's like dark and you're like moody doesn't perform as well. Again, people use Instagram as like a mood changer. So they want to walk away feeling like, wow, I learned something, I got inspired, and like, yeah, maybe I will work. Maybe I do need that, the other thing is people get on Instagram because potentially they have a problem and that's like swirling around in their head, and they're like, maybe not conscious of it, but they're using this time to sort of figure out or get inspired as to how they can solve their problem. And that's when you want to give them the solution to their problem with a call to action. Video content also performs much better than any other type of content. So using Instagram stories or reposting from LinkedIn, because LinkedIn lets you do native video, or reposting from TikTok really helps people. It really helps the Instagram algorithm, although, sometimes it can be frustrating because in terms of looking at your insights, you're only getting like views, and people are usually less likely to engage with a video. So those are just pros and cons. I think you have to use a mix of all types. So in terms of helping your posts perform best on Instagram, here are a few ways. So as I mentioned, the name of the game is engagement for Instagram. So when you do post on Instagram, I would plan to stay on Instagram to engage for at least 30 minutes after you post. Don't just post, drop it, and then walk away and put your phone down and be like, oh, I posted for the day. I set a 30-minute timer on my clock, and I just sit there and I comment on other people's posts. I go through the hashtags that I put in my post, and I comment on other people's posts. And when you comment on other people's posts, you want to use no fewer than 5 words. That's the Instagram algorithm tracker. They don't want you just dropping a heart and then driving by, because this is what bots will do. So they're trying to like check you as a real engagement against people who are operating with bots and like running through people's feeds and trying to boost their engagement, right? So I use that 30 minutes very strategically. I don't just like zoom around on random hashtags or just comment on people who are already in my feed. I make sure to go and comment in the hashtags that I use specifically. And then I will go to somebody else's page who I follow, for example, Shaman Durek or Saadi Simone. And I will go inside their post and see who's commented. And I will go like and follow the people who have commented on their posts. Here's why. This is sort of like audience copying, if you know anything about Facebook ads. I know that someone who follows Shaman Durek or Sadi Simone probably is also interested in my work, right? They're spiritual, they're healthy, they're interested in psychic stuff. So this is a way of narrowing down like a really targeted audience demographic. So in hashtags, the problem is people can throw up hashtags and post their comments or post their content there. And you're just like, I have no idea if this is like someone I want to talk to or not. If you go to somebody else's feed, like Sadi Simone's, you'll know. I'm going to pull this up for you so you can see what I'm talking about. You'll know that this person probably would be interested in your content, and they are more than likely on Instagram right then and there. So the potential for striking up a conversation is much higher. So I have post notifications on for all of these people who are like my audience copies. So PSMLF, perfect example. She is a coach that is into cosmic consciousness. She teaches about Kundalini yoga. She teaches about intuition. And now she's like one of my Instagram friends, but I've been following her for years. So if I go into her feed here, she just posted 3 minutes ago. She has, first of all, I'm going to look at her hashtags too, and I'm going to take any hashtags that I like. But once she posts in her, this is not a good example because no one's posted yet. But what would be great for me is like being the first person to post. This is not best practices, by the way. I'm doing this quickly for you.
Oh, real quick, Megan.
Yeah.
I think it's still on your Canva screen.
Oh, it's not sharing the other screen.
Just FYI.
Okay, thank you. Let me see. Let me share. Let me try resharing. Okay. Thank you for flagging that. Okay, so it's great to be the first person to respond. This is how many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I totally resonate with this. Post. So now when other people go comment on her feed, they're also going to see me at the top of her feed. Meg Markey, they're going to see like this cool, colorful photo, and they're going to be like, interesting. She likes PSMLM. Maybe I might like her too. And I could get a follow from that. But here's a better example. This post she put up 2 days ago has 17 comments. And so all of these people, Natalie Valencia, Canadian Post, The Rose and Thorns, I'm going to go to their page. And see what she does. I believe everyone deserves freedom. Psychic, welcome to the era of attraction. I help coaches create resonant message to scale and cash flow and pleasure. Okay. Well, she's probably not an ideal client for me, but she would be someone I would still follow because if she follows my content, it's like she's in my tribe of people, right? It sounds like what she does is a little bit too similar to mine, but now what I'm going to do is go through and I'm going to like 3 of her posts. I might comment on all of them or one of them, and then I'll follow her. And sometimes I drop a DM right away into their direct messages and say like, hey, I found you on PSMLA's page. It seems like we're like-minded. I love what you're up to. Voice memos perform really well in terms of boosting your engagement on the algorithm. And they also are great for genuine engagement. I can't tell you how many clients I've booked from just dropping a voice text, and they hear my voice and they're like, oh, it's a real person. Cool. And then they'll go to my page and they'll see what I do. And they're like, oh, you're a psychic. I should book a session with you. thousands of dollars of revenue from just doing this one thing. Most people don't do this, right? They just like comment and then they leave. Well, this girl is potentially getting like, some of these posts have 19 comments. Why is she going to go specifically to your feed? She's probably not. She's just going to be like, thank you, you know, like like we have to do for engagement. So that's how you can sort of circumvent the typical practice and make yourself stand out to the people that you want to stand out to. So now I'm going to go to one of these hashtags, conscious business, just so you can see what I'm talking about. So in this hashtag, you can see there are 91,000 posts. That is like a medium-sized hashtag, right? You can see generally what the content is. You can see, like, for me, this is really my vibe. Like, this is the type of content I would look at. These are the type of people that I would work with. So this is a great hashtag for me, right? So I'm going to keep this hashtag and save it. I save all of my hashtags in my phone because I'm posting typically from my phone. So I keep them in my notes, and we're going to go further into hashtags, but I just want you to see what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to go back to sharing my other screen. And we're going to leave time. I'm going to show you how to leave a voice message on Instagram too. Okay. Okay. Work with me here. Okay. Let me go back one slide. Okay, so lastly, photos of your face perform 5 times better, and then videos perform great as well, as I mentioned. So post categories. These are your content pillars. Again, you want to inspire, educate, and sell in your feed. So the 5 main categories, I think, are education, inspiration, lifestyle, engagement, and sales. So coming up with content pillars for yourself will help you streamline the whole process of Instagram, because I find the hardest thing for me to do is just like actually post as often as I want to during the week, because it comes to a certain time during the day. I usually post around 3 p.m. because that's optimal for both LA and New York. Those are my primary cities where I'm prospecting clients. That's lunchtime in LA, and then 3 p.m. is when everybody's blood sugar drops, so they get distracted and they go on Instagram. And I encourage you to do your own research as to timing and your ideal market. For all of you, it'll probably be pretty similar to mine, except for Ellie, who's probably in Colorado, and actually, Marlene, yours will be totally different because you're in Germany. But coming up with content pillars will help you lay it out so that you can really understand sort of a flow. And I sort of rotate all of these in: education piece, inspiration piece, lifestyle. That's like giving you insight into my life. Engagement is like, I'm going to give you a quiz, or I'm going to give you a challenge, or I'm going to give you like a pick a card. Those perform really well, and it gives people something to chew on when they're in your feed. And then sales, I use seldom often in my feed because I don't really want people to see if I have like a sale going on in 2 years, you know, and they're like, hey, you offered this at $30 in 2018. Are you still offering that? You know? So when I talk about sales, what I mean is like writing a post that gives people a call to action, where you're writing a story or you're giving information, and then at the end you're saying, go to the link in my bio and like buy from me, basically. I want you to like bury that sales CTA in the context of your post. So your posts serve several purposes. You want people to save your content, share it because it inspires them, and when people reshare your content, it drives more traffic to your page, and that's what you really want. So inspiration typically is like a quote that you will drop, and when you drop a quote, the best practice for that is to find a quote that already performs well on Instagram. I do both. Sometimes I actually have a quote that really lights me up, and so I share it. But a lot of the times I just choose quotes that really are have already performed well on Instagram, and I can leverage that performance for my own audience. I'll know for sure that the quote will perform well as long as I post it at the right time. And then I'll just repurpose it. Like, I will not use the exact same format that they use, but I'll make it in my own branded content, if that makes sense. So I'm going to show you what I mean. Stop the share, and I'm going to go back to my Instagram feed. Where did it go? Here we go. Can you see the Instagram now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm going to do hashtag quote of the day. So this has 19 million posts. But what you want to do is go to this part where it says top posts, and you want to find what is performing the best this week, right? This is what's trending this week. I think I'm worth every headache I give. That has 3,000 likes. It's not relevant to my content really, but it obviously performs really well. I'll keep our love alive in unfinished lines. Call out your name until it reaches cloud 9. That doesn't resonate with me, but essentially what I'll do is just research until I find something from top posts. And then here is the most recent. In a feed where you have 19 million posts, people's posts are staying at the top of this feed for utterly a second, less than a second. And then this post that you see here will be buried to the bottom of the feed at the very bottom. So we're going to talk about hashtags more in depth, but I just want to tell you how I typically strategize finding a post. I'm going to see if there's one under light workers. Yeah, so top posts. A lot of times I honestly don't like what happens in light worker feeds because the content visually tends to be kind of subpar. But you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. So let me go back to the presentation. Great. Also, does this make sense to you in terms of the content pillars? Maybe I should show you an example. I will. I'll show you how this is done. All right. So Shaman Durek, for example. Can you see the Instagram now?
No, it's on Canva right now.
Okay, one sec. Okay. Okay, so Shaman Durek, as I mentioned, he does a content piece where you can engage. I think it's Wednesdays, actually. Woke Wednesday. And he'll give a little message with videos. So you're see, there you go. He's giving you a theme of the week on Wednesdays that you can follow. And he used to do on Tuesdays, a pick a card or a pick a stone, and then you could get a message from it. Tuesday, yeah, exactly. So choose a sea creature, choose a color, and then inside you have your own unique message. This is like what you get for the week. And they're really beautifully done. And everybody, he did it for like a year. So now everybody definitely checks his feed on Tuesday. So the other thing is to like really build reliability with your audience so that they know like, okay, I know to check this person's feed because she's going to do a live on Mondays, or she's going to do a content piece that's fun for me on Tuesdays. This is a really good way to start to like give people a reason to come and check your page, right? Because that is like my behavior on Instagram. I don't like sit there and scroll through feeds most of the time. I go and check the people who I feel like are giving out like cool news or information that would be useful for me for the day. Let's look at Jenna Kutcher. She's great at all things social media. So for Jenna Kutcher, her content pillars, she lays them out a little differently. For her, she talks about body positivity. She talks about business. She talks about being a mom. She's a mom entrepreneur. And she seeks to basically inspire you to embody your most true self as a businesswoman, right? Her tagline is imperfectly empowering women. Perfect. So I know if I come to her page, I'm going to get a little bit of body positivity, some business advice, some inspirational and lifestyle photos, etc. She started her career as a photographer. This post is a great example of an inspirational post. You are not the same person you were when you started. Let me see if I can find an education post. This looks like one. I love learning interesting things about people I follow. So today I'm dropping 5 totally random facts about myself that you probably didn't know. So this is like education / get to know me, right? I'm certain in this post, she's telling you something about her business and her. I've held really unique jobs in the past and oftentimes juggled multiple at the same time, from cleaning limousines, la la la. I used to be a super musical. Okay, so like, this post tells me about her. And I recommend doing a post like this once every 5 to 8 posts, because your Instagram feed is growing all the time. And at the beginning, all people want to know is like who you are and more about you, right? So like, it should be one of your top posts. Like for her, it's in her top 6, because if I'm new to her feed, I'm going to look at the top 6 posts and decide whether or not I like her. And now she showed me like, I'm a real person. I'm inspiring you. This is my baby. Lots of baby photos, and then about me and why you should follow me. Right. Let me see if I can find a good education post. And when I say education, I mean like, about business. I know I can show you. Hannah Eichler. Nope. Okay, my girl Hannah. You can see she doesn't have a lot of followers, but all of her content is extremely like detailed and factual and informative. So this is an example of an education piece. What you think you need to be happy, what you actually need. She's telling you what her point of view is. She's also giving you a piece that you can save in your feed, and you probably will reshare this because this is like so information that's put in such a simple way that anyone could understand what she means, right? Here's another education piece. People pleasing versus goddess energy. This is great. She puts impactful information in a way that is like shareable. I want to save this for later because maybe I need to be reminded. And then she's talking to me here. Like, does this remind you of you? Let me see. This seems like might be an inspiration post. Feel like you're not good enough, no matter what you do. I've spent years putting my life under a microscope, trying to tell me to fix my life and myself. This is an inspiration post. First, she's talking to you. That's really important. We're going to go into how to structure a post. Then she makes you relate to her and her story. This is why you're following her specifically, as opposed to any of the other mindset coaches out there. And she tells you her story and why this relates to you and how she can help you, because she's transformed this pain into purpose, right? Great content. Here's an example of an inspirational post. You yourself, as much as anybody in the world, deserve your own affection. I'm going to take you to the place where these get saved. So when I scan through hashtags and I find things that I like, I always save them here. You can see like my 1 million saved posts. And then when I have a day where things are slow and I have like a ton of other stuff to do, I go to my saved posts and I will put them up in my stories, because I don't really want my stories to drop and have nothing going during the day, but I don't always have time to like, you know, go in there and drop something that's used, like a story or a video. So this is where I keep everything. You can do that too. This can be like your backlog when you want to reshare or inspire. You know, importantly, I try to save pieces from people who I know might reshare my post in their feed. So this is how I drive engagement for myself in a really simple way. If I reshare somebody's content and they reshare it in their feed, then I get traffic driven to my website. I do this kind of often with To Be Magnetic posts. I will tag them in my stories and use one of their quotes, and that way they will repost in my feed. This person, I don't do it with people who have like hundreds of thousands of followers, because they're not likely to see me. But for example, Anita Kovacs, she's a Black African-American rights activist. I shared this because it really resonated with me. She reshared it and I got like 15 new followers that day. She has a substantial following, right? And our work is not related really, but I'm sure she has a lot of women that follow her that might be also interested. Well, she has Goddess in her feed, right? So she has a lot of women following her feed that probably would also be interested in psychic work, right? So I'm like thinking strategically about like whose posts that I would want to reshare, because if they have anywhere from 5,000 to 15,000 followers, they probably would reshare that I shared their content on my feed, right? I don't know where this is going. I don't need to see Sunny Leonard Juicy. Okay, so I'm going to flip back to the presentation. Share screen. Yeah, so having other people reshare your content is a really good way to drive traffic and get new clients on your page. Okay. We are being slow. Sorry, give it a second. I can just scan like this while it takes its time. So hashtags. I've already shown you where they live. So hashtags is where you're going to spend most of your time in terms of like the upfront research and researching your clients. I would say that, well, the general rule of thumb is that you're allowed to have 30 hashtags per post. I would recommend using all of them because this is how people discover you. I would highly recommend spending a legitimate amount of time. I spent like at least 2 hours just researching hashtags. There are literally thousands of them. but some of them are better than others. And what I want are hashtags where people are posting regularly, but there are not too many posts, so that my post will get buried. I want hashtags that show that my ideal client would be there actually, on a regular basis. And I want hashtags that are relevant to my content, obviously. So, well, maybe that's not obvious, because I see a lot of people posting like a hashtag that's really generic, like your smile, or like quote of the day, which you could see there that quote of the day has like 19 million posts. So that's not going to help you get more followers. People won't see your post if you use quote of the day. So 30 hashtags that are relevant to your ideal client, and you want 30 hashtags per content category. So like looking back at the pillars here, you want 30 for education, 30 for inspiration, 30 for lifestyle, and whatever it is you decide to like put in these 4 or 5 content categories. And then the other general rule of thumb is to choose 10 for each size of hashtag. So I choose 10 small hashtags, that's 25 to 50,000 posts in the hashtag, 10 medium ones, and 10 large. Above 500,000, and honestly like above 250,000, there are too many posts in the feed, and you are less likely to actually get your post seen. And the ideal is to get it, going viral, or for people to see it, or for it to stay there for a long time, so your window is longer, where like if someone checks it 24 hours later, you're still in the top like 40 posts. So if people scroll 2 or 3 times, they'll be able to see your post, right? The point of using a small hashtag is like you'll probably be at the top of the feed for like a week or something. So that is strategic, because if someone goes to the hashtag for the first time, they're going to see your post right away. I chose 30 hashtags per category. And then I also just choose like 5 hyper specific hashtags that are relevant to that actual post. So I have the generic ones. I probably have 25 generic ones that I use for each of my 5 categories. And then I have 5 that are like hyper specific to that actual post. So like if I'm posting about balloons, I'll post like, 100 balloon, hashtag 100 balloons, or hashtag balloons, so that it is in the hashtag that's like specific to what is actually going on in the photo, or what's actually going on in the content that I am posting. And I keep all of these in my notes so that I can copy and paste them. I like to put hashtags in the comments because I think it just looks bad putting them in the text for the feed. And I think it's kind of a waste to put like 30 dots down and then post all of your hashtags, but that's a matter of preference. The thing that I don't recommend is putting your hashtags right below your text, because it just clunks up everything and it doesn't look good. That said, you want to actually put these hashtags in the comments as soon as possible. So I would like have them copied and pasted and ready, because the longer you wait, like Instagram reads time. So if it's like 5 minutes after you post your photo, then it's not really registering at the top of the feed for the hashtags. So you want to drop the comment like immediately after you post. Drop the hashtags in the comment immediately after you post. When you go research these hashtags, you want to spend time on these hashtags for like a week to see the frequency of posts and your ideal client, if they actually show up there. I actually follow hashtags to see if the content is relevant to me over time. So in my feed, I have hashtags that actually post in my feed, and I see if the content is relevant to me. And when you're going through these hashtags, just notice the type of content that actually catches your eye and what doesn't. So mostly photos are what will catch your attention, which is why I highly recommend posting mostly photos. As you saw with Jenna Kutcher, she posts 90% photos, like one actual like education piece. That's because photos perform so much better on Instagram. And if people are scrolling through a hashtag, they're less likely to stop on your quote and more likely to stop on your photo and actually go into your profile and find out more about you. see if this wants to work now. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so glitchy. Okay, here we go. Uh, Okay, how to write a post that converts. If you take nothing else away from this class, this is the absolute most important thing you need to learn and master. Um, Writing a post that actually converts to sales. So many people post content that's great, and then they write a story that's like interesting, but it doesn't address your actual client. So the biggest mistake people make on Instagram, I think, is starting out their post with the letter I. So I am this, like I did that. And there's a time for announcements. Like I just made an announcement that I hit 10K in my business. There's a time for that. But the rest of the posts need to address what the specific problem is that your client has, how other people try to solve it and fail, how you solve it differently, and what their life will look like once this problem is solved for them. And then lastly, you want to just give them a call to action. How can they work with you? If this post resonates with you, here's how you can work with me. Boom, done. If you follow these tenets, you can definitely get away with only posting 3 or 4 times a week. People do not need to see tons and tons of content. They just need to know when they stop on your post, are you talking to them specifically? Do you know exactly what their problem is inside and out? How other people try to solve it and fail? This is like your competitors. Like, why do most coaches or like healers try to solve this problem, and where do they fail? How you can solve it differently, like how this is your differentiation factor, and what their life will look like once their problem is solved for them. So for example, Marlene, your attention release specialist. So like the problem for this person is probably that they're stressed and overwhelmed and they can't seem to calm themselves down during their workday. How other people try to solve this and fail. They may try to go see a doctor, for example, and the doctor may tell them that they need anxiety medication. How you solve it differently. You know that trauma lives in the body, and that if you're able to just leverage a few self-healing techniques like breath and grounding and presence, they can solve the problem without them having to get on medication. What their life will look like once the problem is solved for them, they'll experience better sleep, more peace at work, less triggers, and the ability to actually be productive during the day. That's like a lot of things. I would use like 1 or 2 of those things. Next steps, if this is something that you need, link in bio. Like I have a free session I'm offering to 5 people. Go to the link in my bio. Great. Guarantee you that is like 5 people will be like, I'm definitely stressed and I tried to go to the doctor this week, and you speak exactly to me. What I want is to be able to solve this problem on my own, right? So here's an example. I just saw this today, and this is like a perfect example. This is my friend Jackie. She's a tapping coach. Here's how she starts. And guys, this first sentence that you write is easily the most important thing in your post. People read this quickly and they're like, do I want to read this or not? So she says, why as a business coach and mindset healing expert, I'm no longer talking about getting clients, coaches, creatives, and healers just like you to a 10K month. So right off the bat, she's telling me how she as a business coach is doing things differently. So this post is a little out of order, but you're going to get it. So why she as a business coach is doing things differently than other coaches, and who she's helping, coaches, creatives, and healers, and how she's helping them. 10K months, right? Then she uses, and I think it's really important to use like markers with your points. Marker, check mark. It's my job as a coach to help you reach your greatest potential. Trust me, it's far greater than this arbitrary number. Check mark. It's my job as a mindset healing expert to realign you with your highest self, because she's not earning this arbitrary number, right? So she's making her 2 points here. Then she explains it. How can I cap you at 10K a month when there is so much more coming your way? So many people who see value and can't be in your orbit, or can't wait to be in your orbit. Here she's differentiating herself, right? Most coaches on Instagram will tell you right off the bat, I'm going to get you to your first 10K month, right? Because that's what everyone really wants as a coach when they're just starting out. And she's saying, like, I'm not going to limit you there. Yes, I'm going to get you to a 10K month, but there's even more, right? So 10K month is no longer cutting it. Is this triggering you? Keep reading. Even better. She's like, you know, a great way to get someone to read the rest of your post is to call them out if they're triggered. Maybe you're not quite at 10K yourself. So she's identifying, like, are you the right person to be reading this post? If you're making 30K months, I'm probably not talking to you. Conditions become results. Your growth is not about adding, it's about multiplying. So this is how she does it differently. What if there's a different way, right, to multiply your business instead of adding a little by little, a way that allows you to, and now here's how she solves it. Here's how she's doing it differently. Here's how she's going to solve it for you. You have fun and feel light in your business. You release here's how she's showing you what the result will be for you. This is the vision. You release attachment to this number. You stop doubting yourself. You release feelings of shame, guilt, and unworthiness, and you ditch the hustle and heal your scarcity. I'm already like, amazing. I want all those things. I'm like over here where you said I was like, you know, doing this, but what I want to be is over here. And then she gives me the point. When you fully embrace the internal transformation, enacting the strategy becomes easy, and you start to experience months that are multiples of 10K. Awesome. It's exactly what I'm going to show you in my Monday Magnetic Mindset Multiplier. Great. Now she's leading me somewhere. This is the call to action. And she does it gently. She's like, weaves it in. She's not like, buy here or go here now. She's like, I told you all these things not to just get you hype. I want you to come here where I'm going to solve your problem. And she tells you what it is. And then she says, link in bio, sign up. Perfect post. Follows a formula. Okay, I'm going to move on to stories now. So stories are where you showcase your lifestyle. This is where people go to get to know you better. This is a daily feed. And in general, I think the most effective way to use stories is to give people behind the scenes into your business and into your life. So like, everybody checks stories every day. Most people won't see your posts every day. Unfortunately, that's just like how the algorithm works. I also think stories is a great place to post your temporary offers. So like, pretty much every week I'm selling something, whether it be like my intuitive unblocking session, my coaching, my one-on-one coaching, or my group program. I am in my stories always showing people what's happening in my day-to-day. I'm always sharing something inspirational, a quote, and then I'm always selling for the most part. I like take probably maximum 5 days off a month where I'm not like telling them where to buy or directing traffic to my link in bio. And this is just something that I had to get used to, right? So like, my first coach was like, if you're not selling every day, you're not doing your audience a service. And it takes some getting used to, but you do have to sell more than you want to, because people will see your sale on day 1, and by day 14, they're ready to actually buy from you, right? Because they've checked it out, they've thought about it, they've seen all of the content you've posted related to it, and then they're ready to buy. So I think stories is a perfect place for selling, because it also is temporary. Again, as I mentioned, you don't necessarily want to put a sales post in your Instagram feed, because then it's permanent and it lives there forever. And if someone goes back like all the way to 5 weeks ago, they could be like, oh, you gave 30% off on your readings. Like, could you honor that offer? And honestly, if you walk into a store and that were the case, like, they'll honor the offer. So like, I feel sort of the same way about your, the way that you put your content in your Instagram feed. So this is a great place because it only stays for 24 hours. And then it's gone and no one can find it again. Stories is also a great place to drive engagement. So a couple times a week, I'll put a question in my DM, in my stories, so that people will direct message me. That is really increasing my, improving my engagement through the algorithm, right? The question I ask will either be related to something personal, like what are you grateful for? Or it'll be related to the offer that I'm selling. Do you have questions about the offer? Or it's just like a general life question that I know people will actually respond to. The point is really, at the end of the day, just the engagement piece of it. This is also where you're beginning to build trust with people. So it's so important that you do stories every single day. I think it's really important in the first 6 to 12 months of your business that you're like actually talking on camera in stories every single day, or you're like showing some video of your life every single day, so that people feel like they're with you on this journey. Because for some people, all of your engagement builds on itself, right? Some people have come to me and they're like, I've been watching your content for 6 months and like, I'm now finally ready to buy from you. And like, I'm so appreciative, right? But if you go on stories and you post once a week, people are like, I have no idea who you are. So then when you go to sell to them, they're like, okay, like, I don't know who you are and I don't know what you do. And I haven't been following your journey at all. So you have no rapport. It's like so much harder to sell to them through stories if you have no actual engagement with them and they don't know what you are and what you're about. So stories is definitely about building that trust and rapport with your audience, and consistency and regularity in your stories content is how you actually build that trust and rapport. Your stories, just like your feed, should have like a general content theme. I think unlike your feed, your stories is really about this like video aspect of showing like you being present every day and like sharing what happens behind the scenes for you in your life and in your business, right? I tend to share messages that I download during the day. Like maybe I get a psychic message. I also oftentimes post a card pull of the day because that gives people like something to do when they're on my feed. They're like, oh, I know if I go to Megan's stories, I'll probably get a message for myself today. Or I'll be inspired, etc. So that is what you should be doing with your stories. Okay, so hunting for prospects and allies. So this is the most important part in terms of how you spend your time on Instagram. So prospects and allies are two different categories of people, both very important to growing your business. Again, I spend 30 minutes to an hour a day just engaging on Instagram, looking for prospects and allies, right? So prospects are defined as people who you'll identify from hashtags as having the problem that you specifically can solve with your work. So typically how I identify that is in, if I find someone who looks like they're my ideal client, I know that because I have my ideal client list of characteristics written out. I will go to their page. I will like 3 of their photos. I will comment on 3 of their photos, and I will follow them. Then I will go and turn on the post notifications. I will go deeper into this in another slide. But this is why it's important for you to have done the exercise we did last week so that you know who you're looking for. So for me, I'm looking for someone who's like posting great content, but not necessarily hitting 10K months yet, and probably has less followers than me because I know I can help them in that regard as well, right? They're probably a coach or a healer or an intuitive, and they look like they could use a little help with their business, right? I'm looking for someone who's into personal development work. They clearly have a great, personality. And for me, transparently, like I look for women who have this sort of like warrior goddess or warrior princess spirit. I'm looking for someone who's like, you know, I compare myself to like my friend Jocelyn, who does the same thing as me. She's looking for someone who's like very much queen vibes, who's like really in her feminine and really like wants to be like a goddess who is like, you know, wearing feminine, flowery clothing. I'm much more of like the hunter goddess. And I'm looking for women who are like here with a deep spirit to like hunt and kill for their dinner. And that just is sort of like the vibe that interests me, because I know that that type of person is like signed up for the work and they're gonna work at my speed and they're gonna really be interested in like these deeper questions of life. And they'll get a lot out of the work that I have to offer. Allies. Allies are people who are working in your category. So these are other coaches that have either an equal amount of followers to you or more. My ideal ally has 2,000 to 10,000 followers. They're either in the fitness industry, wellness industry, sustainability industry. So they'll be interested in my content, but I want to leverage them to do Instagram lives with them, and to follow, like, and promote my content, because that is going to help me grow my following much more quickly. So my strategy for a prospect is different than my strategy with an ally, in that I am trying to get an ally to help me build my following by resharing my content, doing Instagram lives with me, or putting me on their podcast, honestly, right? So like if there's someone in fitness, and I really love their content, I'll be like, hey, like we should do a live together. That it would be great. I'll share about my intuitive stuff. You can share about your fitness stuff. We have like audiences. They could each benefit from our content. I'm not like, let's become allies. I like think of everything in war strategy, but like, I'm like, let's help each other, right? And they love it because they get exposure for their brand and they get clients that they could serve from my audience, and I get clients that I can serve from their audience. It's a win-win. Allies also you can put into a pod. I can teach you how to do this. I didn't put this in the slideshow, but a pod would be like 15 to 20 women that you gather who are like-minded but don't do exactly what you do. And you guys all agree to comment on each other's posts every time to just help boost your engagement right from the start, right? And that will help you get more likes and more followers, and everything. I was in a pod in my first group program. I can start one for you guys, but honestly, it would be more helpful if you had like 15 people to help you with your engagement right off the bat. Okay. So that's the difference between a prospect and an ally. And when I'm on Instagram, I'm constantly looking for these people in hashtags and on other people's profiles that I follow. I'll look at their comments and I'll find prospects and allies in the comments, like I showed you earlier. Okay. So engagement strategy for ideal clients. So again, genuine engagement always wins. Sometimes if I'm like, there's no way today I could possibly read like 50 Instagram posts, I will just write like a generic 5-character sentence and go through and comment on people's posts, because it will still definitely drive traffic. So I'll be like, this really resonates with me. Although I have been called out once by someone who I said that to, who was like, oh, what part? And then I had to go back and like actually read it. So if you're having a lazy day and you can't do that, I would just create something that's generic. But for the most part, I'm actually going through hashtags, finding people who are my ideal clients and actually reading their posts and actually commenting on their posts. And then I also, you know, just like in real life, your ideal client wants to be deeply understood, seen, and supported by you, right? So once you find them in their hashtags, go and take the time to at least like and comment on 3 of their posts. Sometimes I do this really quickly, like, love this, 5 characters, whatever it is, on 3 of their posts, and then I follow them. I go and I turn on their post notifications. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I reply to their stories for like a week so that I'm on their radar. So I turn on their story notifications as well. And then if they follow me back, I drop them a voice text. Sometimes even if they don't follow me back, I'll still drop them a voice text and introduce myself and say like, hey, just found your feed. I love what you're up to. I really loved that post you said about like women's empowerment. I'm like totally about that message too. I get almost 100% of people respond to a voice text. Also, Instagram really loves voice texts in terms of ranking you higher in the algorithm, right? And then tell them what you do and how you can learn, how they can learn more. So like when I introduce myself via voice text, I'm like, hey, I'm Megan. I'm an intuitive business coach. I loved your post about X. Like I totally resonate. Where are you? How's it going during COVID? And like, oh, by the way, like, here's what I do. I'm like psychic and I also am like a business coach. And they're like, oh, that's so cool. Like, la la la. And then you start a conversation that's genuine, right? I'm not asking for anything from them. I'm just introducing myself as if we were sitting across the table from each other at like a networking lunch, right? And I try to understand how I could help this person right away. So if it's a client that I'm doing this for, I'm like, oh, how are you doing in your business so far, right? And I might not say this on day one of finding them. I might say this after a week or two of like following their stories, engaging with their stories, engaging with their posts. And I'll be like, girl, you're like really on your hustle. Like, how's it going for you so far? Like, when did you start your business? And then I'll dive into the conversation about like how I could potentially help them. And usually the soft sell is so natural. It's like, they're like, oh, thank you so much for asking. I've seen your post too. Like, what is an intuitive unblocking session? Like, do I need that? And I'm like, here's how it works. This is the result that you would get. Yeah, I think it could totally help you. So that's how the conversation typically goes. It's very organic. And I have a feeling you guys are going to have questions. We'll talk about that after the slide. So in terms of allies, I do basically the same thing. But since I'm not trying to sell this person anything, it's much easier. I just like see this person. I'm like, okay, this is someone's feed that I could definitely follow and I like her content. And I'll jump right into her DMs and be like, hey girl, I love what you're up to. Like, is there a possibility of us like, you know, doing an Instagram live together so that we can share audiences or share our like content with each other's audiences? She'll be like, I've gotten some people saying no, that's fine. Most people are like, oh my God, of course. Everybody's like looking for stuff to do on Instagram, right? So like I was thinking about doing the topic of manifestation. Does that interest you? I'd love to like interview you on my feed. Would that work? Great. Provide them value first. And then, yeah, so I did that with a dating coach. I've done that with a manifestation coach. I've done it with other intuitives that I know are like not really in competition with me. So the key factor for an ally is someone who is like in a related field. Like, in other words, they're like a coach. Like I wouldn't do this with someone who's selling a product because that, you know, there's not really a high crossover there. But who's helping people solve a problem in a different way. Like, yeah, a lot of people in my audience want help with dating as well. I don't provide dating advice, even though sometimes it comes up in my one-on-one client coaching. That's just not what I offer to solve. So working with a dating coach is perfect for me. So lastly, share about your happy customers. This is like the most important thing you can do for your sales is tell people how you've solved the problem for other people. And at the beginning, you won't have these, but I would honestly, at the very beginning, do things for free just to get testimonials from people. And we'll talk about that afterwards in terms of the exercise you just did. Doing work for free or for low cost is like, you know, testimonials are gold. And when people see real faces paired with text saying like these people saying like how their lives have been genuinely changed by your work, that gets more sales calls than anything else. Once you post the testimonial, you want to also tell people how they can work with you if this like resonated with them. I get a lot of my my clients to do video testimonials. I find them to be more powerful. They tend to perform better on Facebook than Instagram, because I'm not going to post a video testimonial in my feed, but I might post it in my stories, and then I'll put it from stories into my testimonials. Also, your former customers are going to be your best salespeople in general. So like constantly giving your former customers reasons to tell their friends about your work is key. So I see a lot of people make the mistake of like getting a testimonial and then like not asking these people like to share it out on their own feed so that they can actually get clients from their feed. So like some of my best performing testimonials have come from people who shared their video out on their Instagram stories. So then people would just go right to my page if they want the same result that this girl got. But usually I have to ask or tell or suggest to the person how they can actually help me with this testimonial. They can help me by sharing it with their friends who might also want the same result or the same service. Because for people to actually buy from you, they have to trust you. They want to feel like they know you. And so your first 5 customers almost invariably come from your extended network or friends and family who already know who you are. They already trust you. And so they're willing to take a chance on you with their money. From there, it should mushroom out into a bigger client base. So this week's assignment is going to be about researching hashtags and hunting for prospects and allies. I want you to just get into practice with this so that you can actually ask questions next week. Tell me how it went, if it felt awkward, how the conversations went. But I want you to start to get into practice so that you're all set up for Instagram. I'm not going to give you a content challenge this week because I feel like you're still in the works of trying to figure out like who you are and what you do. But I do want you to start to get into practice, posting as much as you want just for practice, using the principles in this presentation, but mostly getting into the practice of actually talking to people on social media. Novel suggestion. So many people just sit there and scroll and scroll and scroll, and they'll comment on like Glennon Doyle or like some of the most popular people. But like that doesn't help you. Glennon Doyle has like literally 1,300 comments for every one of her posts. No one's going to be able to see your comment and follow you. It's much more important that you find people that are like within your range. So I would start to identify prospects